Welcome everyone to the Omen Path podcast. We've got a couple of special guests here with us today. We've got Revelo and Manatithe, also known as Chris and Aimee from WarRoom EDH. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us on.
Guys.
Thank you for having us on.
Good to be here.
No, you're very welcome. It's nice to finally have you on after our technical glitches from the last time we were supposed to record this. My computer not behaving.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Touch wood. Let's not jinx it.
Yeah. The worst thing about it is we sat there and chatted afterwards, and we didn't have any issues once we'd called it. But hey ho. Hopefully it behaves better. Go on, John.
I was going to say these things happen, but yeah, if you'd like to tell us a bit about yourselves, what the WarRoom is, and maybe a little bit about how you got into Magic as well.
Chris is the better one at the spiel, so I let Chris do the spiel about WarRoom.
Oh yes, the autistic person has to do all the explaining. I could go on about this for ages. So as hello everyone. If you're watching this, it's good to be here. I'm Revelo, aka Chris, Aimee, aka Manatithe. So we're WarRoom EDH, a bi-weekly EDH stream on Spell Table where mostly we try to get fellow British content creators onto the channel to play whatever decks they feel like doing. We normally let the guests decide. We occasionally do themed ones, like depending on if there's a set we're both interested in. We'll be doing hopefully Tarkir theme streams and Final Fantasy streams when they come out soon.
Mm.
We also do like Battle of the IPs once a year, like so whatever Universes Beyond set people want to do. And yeah, so really that's it. We've been doing this now nearly 2 years, I think now. So
yeah, coming up to 17 months.
Yeah, started like August 2023, I believe. So something like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know Alex and I both enjoyed coming onto the stream and playing with you.
Yeah,
even though we get counterspelled and beaten up. But
I promise I don't just invite people on just to get cast Manatithe against them. or come up and
it's funny because I really like the card Manatithe. I really do. I love it because nobody expects it. I think the only person that's cast it while I've played, and you've done it every game we've played, even when we had like a warm-up game in Birmingham back in the day. Manatithe, I was like, hold on a minute, what's going on here? I do love it. I love it.
It's one of those cards you're kind of aware of, but you don't think it's really going to be played in a commander game because it's just there's so much mana available most of the time. But early games, it just catches people out so many times.
Or people get cocky and think, I'm just going to turn everything sideways, and not notice today he's got a single white source available.
it's one of those things when someone casts like a Torment of Hellfire or an Exsanguinate, they spend all their mana, don't they? A lot of the time.
Yeah.
So actually, you can kind
that actually happened on Saturday.
So
when we
had
had
friends over to play, and he tapped out completely to play a Torment of Hellfire, and I
oh dear, amazing.
I love that. I just think it is so on brand as well. It's just brilliant. I really, really love it. I really do.
Love it.
I really do. So, what about how did you guys get into Magic then? When was it? What dragged you into it? Was it the art? Was it the game work? Tell us a little bit about your adventure into Magic the Gathering.
So I got into Magic around Battle for Zendikar when I first started playing. And I actually just bought a booster box and just sat in my room and cracked the box open myself. Thing you should never do, always buy singles. And then I built a really horrible standard deck out of that and just went along, played standard, and then played a bit of draft. Got into Magic a little bit, started making friends, drifted away from it slightly, and then came back. I came back around the time, I think it was just before the Edgar Markov Commander decks came out. That's like mid 2017, and I want to say that is.
Yeah, that's about right.
So I drifted away from it, and then came back to it about then, and then got into Commander, and then I've been playing Commander pretty much ever since, with a little dabbling into like Modern and Pioneer now as well. And Pauper. Pauper, yeah. Pauper has been playing as well since about 2018, but enjoying some 60 card formats as well, but definitely mostly Commander, playing that. So that's me really as well. You got into it before me.
Yeah, so I started. A friend of mine called James. He got one of the old dual decks, Kiora versus Elspeth from Pharaoh's Block. So he gave me the Elspeth one. So his eternal regret, because he could never beat me with it, I got to grips it very quickly. I then bought a box of Tarkir because OG Tarkir is just chef's kiss. Nice. Beautiful set design. And I mainly just played kitchen table Magic for the first few years. I had to dabble in Modern. I went to one Modern FNM with a Mono White Soldiers deck. You can guess how that went in the years of Urzatron and Emrakul. I did a few pre-releases, did a few drafts, learned that, and then got into Commander because trying to keep up with Standard was exhausted even back in those days of like 3-4 sets a year. And then I only really started playing regularly, like full on going to when I met Aimee, which is more of a chance meeting a pub in Bristol with a few friends. And I brought, I think it was
played Animal.
I played Animar, yeah. And we started. Our first date was in a board game cafe. Amy destroyed me, which is kind of part of the course, set the tone for the next 5 years. And yeah, just been playing EDH regularly since then. We started content creation in mid 2023, and I've kind of diversified into doing Pauper as well. We do Pauper FNMs regularly, and of course, I still like to dabble in draft and sealed whenever I get the chance. So. That's where we are today, about 12 years later.
Nice. It's a very rich, diverse dip into Magic the Gathering, which is always nice to hear because I am a true believer. As much as I don't do it as much as I'd like to, I do think 60-card formats do help Commander players because it teaches you a lot more about interactions, particularly fast pace. It teaches you about synergy as well. You know, I can. It definitely, and I know you guys have mentioned Pauper a little bit. I love Pauper. I think it's a really good format. I think it's very friendly to new players as much as anything else, price wise.
Accessible.
But it's very good fun. I remember saying this to Emma Partlow once because I sort of said, I hope you don't take offense to this, but I always feel like playing Pauper is like watching old Pro Tour footage because of the speed and the power level. And you know, she very agreed with it. So I said, well, yeah, it kind of is to a certain degree, but it's always felt like that to me. And I love watching some of that old Pro Tour stuff. But
it's a very.
I like how accessible and easy it is to get into as a format because obviously the decks are all probably the most expensive deck you could find, and in a meta, like maybe you go on to MTG Goldfish, the meta decks, you probably find one for like 150 at most.
At very most.
At very most, yeah.
The rest of them will come down from that to being like 50 quid each most of the time for a deck, and it's so easy to get into,
and it's so diverse as well.
We actually had Pauper FNM last Friday. Our LGS puts them on every now and again, and got to go to that. And one guy turned up with 15 Pauper decks just to lend out to everybody. It's just because he has so many sitting in his bag. Just out, and he said that at his own game store, he just brings them all along and keeps the games going. So.
We've got a guy in our LGS that done something very similar. Basically, he brought a job lot, I don't know, a while back. I can't remember how much he paid. I want to say it's around £100, maybe just over. But he had like 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Pauper decks. Literally, it was a job lot. And he'd done the exact same thing. He'd always bring it along. If anyone rocked up and wanted to play, lend out decks. And I think it's great because it got more people playing it, and it got a bit popular for a while. But it's a great format, really is.
It's very diverse as well. We joke about how like Amsterdam last year it was just Pro Tour Nadu, or how Domain was ruling the roost, pun intended, in at Chicago recently. But of course, when we were at Pauper FNM, you've got Mono Red Cordofa, and you can also do Mono Red Burn. You've got Mono Blue Fairies, Mono Blue Delver. You've got Simic Fog. You've got Grixis Affinity. You've got like say Golgari Eldrazi, for example. There's just you're never going to face the same deck twice like a typical FNM, so, and it also means it's impossible to account for every scenario, so like you're always going to have a bad matchup, it keeps you on your toes.
Are you guys planning on doing any of the Pauper at the next Birmingham event for Action now?
Thinking about it, I'm not sure whether I'm going for both days yet or not. Okay. So I'm not sure what events I'm going to be signed up to for it yet. So trying to figure out. I need to get accommodation sorted for that. So
I will be out of the country, so I will have to sit and weep on the sidelines and watch you all having fun. But again, I've been to Chicago, so I also think I forfeit my right to complain in that sense. So I fly back I'm in Cyprus for 2 weeks with the folks. Literally fly back the day after the Gathering Command Fest. So the timing could have been worse. If it'd been another week ahead, I would have been able to make it. So
how dare they? How dare they not run this by you?
How could they time that so badly?
Let's talk, talking of Chicago. Obviously, Chris, you were very lucky enough to. What was the name of you applied for something and got? Just talk us through that a little bit, and then because I think it's really interesting to hear about that process as well.
So I got the new Perspectives grant, which they award to 10 people at every MagicCon.
Okay.
So you fill out a form, like say a bit about yourself, what you play, how long you've been playing, like because it's there to help promote like not only up and coming people, but also like it's there for like diversity. So diversity's sake, so like if like so people from different countries, LGBT, neurodiversity, any like basically it's so rewarding people like who can provide different perspectives and different backgrounds. So I did a try applying for Amsterdam, but didn't get it. So disheartening as it was, I picked myself up and tried again because at that point we'd recorded content in Amsterdam. I was able to show off. I tidied up my application because I use like Narset as an example. They always said I pick a character. How does that character relate to you? How does it inspire you? And then November, got an email from Wizards of the Coast saying, you have been selected. My emotions went through, oh, yippee, I got it. I get to go to America too. Oh, no, I have to go to America. Because I'd never been to America before. Like, I was meant to go in 2020 with a friend to New York. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. I had to cancel that. So, yeah, my ran the gauntlet of emotions from in the first 5 minutes of hearing I got it. So, because we know Sahara got it in previous years as well. Yeah. So I checked for her, like, is this real? Is this Samir a real person? Like, yeah, he's real and he's a good person. He'll look after you. And he did. So Samir, he's, top bloke. All the WotC staff I met there were great. And nice. Very exclusive club.
Very nice. I got into. I think it's nice that they offer that out to people because not everyone, not everyone's lucky enough to either financially or unsupported attend these MagicCons, particularly for us as Europeans going to the States. It's a big jump, isn't it?
Yeah, because they give you a $2,000 stipend, which basically for me was enough to cover hotels and the airplane plus a little bit for merch. So yeah, if I hadn't got that, I wouldn't have been able to go to it. Yeah. It would have been completely out of the question. So yeah, it's a really good incentive to like help you, and it lets you like do something you've never done before. Like I've been to Amsterdam before prior to MagicCon 2024, so I'd never been that far away from home for such a long period of time.
So in terms of the event, then talk to us about it. Then give us the inside scoop. What you enjoyed about it. What whether there was. Whether you found there was any negativities or what was the things you enjoyed about it the most? What were the people like? Like, I've been to, a North American MagicCon, but, tell me about Chicago because I'm really looking forward to hearing about it from you.
So I'm just going to do a shameless plug here that we do have because Chris did record a bunch of content whilst he was there. And I'm currently editing through a bunch of that. And I'm not a very good editor, so it's a very bad job, but I'll do my best. Trying to put this together into a vlog. So we're going to have a few videos come out of
amazing.
His travels whilst he was over there. And we also have the VOD from the stream he did just after coming back, where he talked about everything that happened and the merch he got and the different things. So we'll have those 4 videos go up on the YouTube channel at some point soon.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah. So let us know. We'll tweet it out.
Yeah, 100%.
Hopefully it'll be coherent. Luckily, of course, I didn't shoot things out of order, so it should be pretty easy to stitch it together. But fingers crossed. So yeah, how do I describe it? Like, I mean, for example, it's America. They do things a lot bigger over there.
Yeah.
Like wherever it makes like things here seem a little quaint by comparison, just like how the scale of things. So I won't pretend it wasn't intimidating. Like it's like getting there.
Sorry to interrupt you here, Chris, but I'll be honest with you. I was exactly the same with Vegas. Now, Amsterdam was big, was absolutely massive,
yes.
But I obviously can't compare it with Chicago, but Vegas was bigger, but in a really different, weirdly. So I spent my first day, or I wanted to spend my first day recording. I couldn't do it because it was so overwhelming. I was like, I'm going to have to take a day to absorb this. So I completely understand exactly what you mean by that, because it is so much bigger and so much bolder. But sorry, go on, carry on.
No, it's fine. You're right. I got there on the Wednesday, so I had a bit of time to absorb things. Because it only really started to sink in probably when I got to my hotel room on that Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
The nerves were definitely there. So where do I even begin? Like, it took a while to get used to how they do their money over there. Like, and I touched on this in the vlog that the price you see on the shelves is not the price you pay. They don't, unlike us, where we include the VAT and the sales tax. They don't do that. So it catches you out, especially when I had to pay when I got the hotel bill.
Oh yeah, tourism tax. Love it.
Yeah, and the McCormick Centre where they held the venue, it feels bigger than Amsterdam.
Wow.
It was harder to navigate though. Like, the benefits of Amsterdam was it was basically 3 big halls all one next to each other. It wasn't too hard to get the lay of the land. Chicago, not so much. Like, you had basically everything in one big hall and then like a few side halls, and you also have things on different levels.
Yeah.
But luckily, of course, the Chat Magic guys were out there too, and they were very helpful. It was they went out their way to make sure that I had some company, which is nice given they had their own issues with their baggage going missing.
Oof, yeah.
So luckily they were able to get equipment to film stuff. But yeah, they went out their way to keep an eye on me, even with everything going on. And of course, Imara, aka Goddess of Thunder, she basically had around me the whole 4 days I was there. So I have to give special shout outs to the 3 of them in particular for keeping an eye on me. And then like the WotC staff were great. Samir, our main consigliere, he was wonderful. Then you had like Megan was good as well. We had like, obviously there were others there too, like Melissa Tora. She was quite friendly. Mark Rosewater was there, and he's just as enthusiastic in real life as he is on the camera. Like he is. You can tell how much he loves the game. And my impression was like the WotC staff, they all really do love the game. Like they're happy to be there. They're happy to talk to you, and that was typical of the whole con experience. Everyone was really friendly. Everyone was like really welcoming. I probably spent more time talking to people and looking for people I'd only ever spoke to behind a computer screen than actually playing Magic. The first time I got to play a Commander game at the con was on the Sunday morning, which says a lot about how busy things were.
We know that, don't we, Dom?
Yeah, the classic con experience.
Yeah,
it took,
but you never get around to it.
It was hard to find my way. It was hard to find my way around. I admit, one of the downsides was things weren't as well signposted. It was a bit of a job figuring out where to go. But so most of the time I was spent either in the main hall or up in the Black Lotus Lounge where it was quieter, which gave me a bit of time to unwind. But that's a minor nitpick. Like, everyone was friendly.
Right.
What's that? Sorry?
Did they have an app you could download with a map and stuff like Amsterdam?
Yeah, the MagicCon app. You download an update for it. It updates to the current event. Yeah. So luckily there was an event, and because I signed up for Gavin Verhey's unknown event, so that also helped me find my way a bit. But yeah, it was a bit hard to find your way around. Like, especially when you got like 3 levels of things you can go up to. That's so, to be fair, the staff are really helpful. They were probably a bit more overworked than what they were at Amsterdam. It felt that there were a lot more people at this one. So, but yeah, everyone was really friendly, welcoming. I had support from Chat Magic on the run out to it, as well as Imara. Also, Evan, aka Dark Pack Cosplay, invited me and some of the others to a party on Thursday evening. So I went up there with some of the new perspectives, because the other new perspectives there was Ashley Bits, Looney Lucy, Wayne Knight, and Brooke and her partner Wayne. So went up to Dark Pack's party. There were loads of I felt a bit unworthy being there, because you had Joe Johnson, Joe Johnson had Load and Ready Run, you had Tappy Toe Claws,
That's
people
cool.
like that. In fact, here's a fun anecdote was that Evan had reserved a room for people to play games in, and the Load and Ready Run people, it was Ben Ulmer, Kathleen, and Graham. They took it over to watch a hockey game, which I thought was peak Canadian. And Evan walked in, I reserved this for games. And everyone was like, but we're watching a game, And it's you have Magic players in a room, and you don't expect to find a loophole for something. So, we were in quite esteemed company there, for instance. But yeah, I know Evan Dark Pat was really lovely. Because they live locally, so their advice was invaluable in helping me figure out where I was going. I find knowing to take the metro from the airport to the hotel. So no, everyone was really supportive during the whole process. And really, the problem is that you don't get as much. I think we all found this stamp. You don't get as much time to play Magic as you think you're going to do. I brought my Pauper deck, a Canlander deck, and 4 EDH decks, and I didn't get to play all of them. 6 decks over 4 days. I just didn't get enough time. You spend so much time doing other activities and meeting people and having chats. So there was so much to do and so many people to connect with. It did feel weird because it was my birthday at the same time out there, and I wasn't there with Amy or my family, and normally when I go abroad, when I go to Magic Games, Amy's kind of there as to support me and look after me. Yeah. So her not being there was a bit, which is understandable. I did offer to take you, but I know you didn't want to go, and so I had to kind of learn to survive on my own a bit. But so I got my ass kicked in pretty much all my games. Even doing Aether Drift Sealed, I did not win very many games. It
felt like home then, at least.
It did feel like home, getting destroyed in Magic games.
Yeah, getting rolled over by Mono White.
Oh no.
Getting my ass kicked in Magic. There we go, because I don't know how to play it. I've been playing Magic 12 years. Oh, you must know how to play the game very well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I do.
On the stream, you have doing a Revelo, don't you, where you missed a trigger or something like that?
Yeah.
The counter's got to 69, and we're just kind of not using it at the moment.
Yeah.
Leave it where it is. Exactly.
Okay.
I miss my triggers. I forget to play a spell. Anytime I forget the rules, is just immediate. Slap the Revelo counter up one. But if I used to be on I used to guest on a person's Sea of Thieves streams. They had a counter of how many times I crashed a ship. So, something's never changed no matter what game I play. I forget to do my job.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm exactly the same. The amount of silly misplays I make, or I'll do something, and Dom will be like, "You shouldn't have done that. You should have done A, B, and C." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course I should have done that." Don't worry about it. You're in good company with me.
Yeah.
To be fair, everyone, no matter where you are, they're pretty forgiving of mistakes or have ways to look out for you. And and that was the best takeaway from Chicago. Everyone was friendly. Everyone was welcoming.
They have been at all these cons, though, haven't they? Even Amsterdam, I know it was at Vegas, Barcelona. All the ones I've been to, it's just been surrounded by some fantastic, like-minded people, and it is the Magic the Gathering community that makes these events, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they're very happy to take you under their wing and look out for you and ensure you have a good time. In fact, one funny anecdote I've got was me and Lucy, our initial plan on one evening was we were going to go to a bar. They had a thing called LobbyCon.
Yep.
And they said, "Oh yeah, there's this thing on this bar. Do you want to go?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." Then I caught when there was a Dragon Shield party going on. I heard that from Amara and the Chat Magic guys. So I thought, can I get into this? So I then spent the next, and this is 15 minutes before it starts. So I spent the next 10 minutes running around like Sonic the Hedgehog who hasn't taken his medication, trying to find someone to say, can I get into this? And eventually I found the room where it was I know these people, I heard this part on, would you let me in and my friend in? And they're like, yeah, sure, come on down. So I had to run up, find my friend, and then run all the way back down as somehow they let us in.
Nice.
So we got free food and drink. So I definitely can't complain.
Yeah.
But yeah, like and Dragon Show knows for a good party. I have to give him props for like.
Were the cups all sleeved, or were the cups deck boxes or something?
I wish. No, sadly they had standard cups. They didn't even have a shield on the cups. They just do standard plastic or glass cups, I'm afraid. So, but funny enough, during that time, I noticed a lot of people want me to keep talking. When you're over there, a Bristolian accent is very well considered exotic.
The Americans love the accent. It doesn't matter where you're from in the UK. They love the accent.
Yeah,
you know. It's
down here, over here, I'm considered like an uneducated Southern hick, but over there, like, oh, just keep talking. I'm getting a bit hot and flushed over here.
Sounds like you got some voiceover work coming your way from over there.
I have to. There was one.
You've already done voiceover work years ago, didn't you?
So funny enough, I did voiceover work for a Lord of the Rings mod where I had to play the dwarves. So
okay.
I feel awfully fitting, but funny enough, who is it? I just got to jump my phone and find the name of it. But yeah, someone called Magic Highness said, "Oh, I might get in touch with you. I know a lot of people would love to hear you do voiceover work. So
nice. I
might be coming to a TikTok near you at some point."
Look forward to it.
So, if there was one thing about the event itself, or one thing you saw at the event, what would be that one thing that you're like, yeah, this made MagicCon Chicago for me? What would that one thing have been?
Oh, that is a very good question, and it's really hard to pin down.
Being away from me for a bit, probably. Get a break.
I'm sure you were relieved as much as I was.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
I mean, Amy does some sort of my bad jokes, and I don't have to worry about making her cups of tea and feeding her to keep her happy. So, my biggest takeaway that I feel I could talk about, the Unknown event was a lot of fun. Ganberry does a great one. They look after you in the Black Lotus Lounge, like Unknown Plane Chase, Aether Drift Sealed, which is quite fun and very removal heavy, from my experience of it. I made a Vehicleist Jund deck, Jund them out. I took that advice to heart. I could talk about that, or, that, but I feel like it has to be the sense of community. Like, everyone's there for the same thing. Yeah. Everybody was happy. There wasn't like, I didn't hear like a bad word said the whole con. It just felt like we're all there to have a good time. We're all there to play Magic in whatever form we choose, whether it be like watching the Pro Tour. I was rooting for the Golgari Graveyard guy. I wish he hadn't got knocked out in the quarterfinals. He was unlucky.
It was cool deck.
But honestly, it was a sense of community. I felt looked after. I didn't feel alone the whole time I was there. And I'd love to go back if it's safe to do so and if it's affordable.
Yeah.
So Chicago was a very welcoming city, and I can't say any. I haven't got a bad word to say about it, to be fair. So
awesome.
I loved that. I loved every moment of it. It felt very validating, and empowering to be there as well. Just some small content creator with social awkwardness from the deepest, darkest depths of Bristol is in the big city talking with some of the biggest names of Magic the Gathering. So
I'm really looking forward to seeing the content you produce.
Me too, 100%. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It'd be really nice to. I've always thought actually that you guys should do some sort of content like that. I thought it'd be really interesting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, we did like some videos from some Command Fests and the one from the previous Command Fest. We never managed to get that video completed in the end. Footage wasn't quite as usable as we wanted it to be.
Yes.
But from Amsterdam, we did get the similar thing, which was like the guest commander. And we were planning on filming more content at Amsterdam to blog that as well. But it was just so busy the whole time. We just never got a chance to do that, and we had to make the decision to make one of the two videos. We decided to go with the guest the commander thing.
Yeah.
Then when Chris got the new perspectives grant, it was like, well, you're going on your own. Just film as much stuff as you want, and we can make a vlog out of it. We can do some stuff with it. So he just filmed loads. So he was filming it and then uploading it into the cloud onto our shared
cloud.
Nice.
And I was downloading it to then have it to free up the space again. So I think we've got about 20 something gigabytes of
we've got a
footage
lot of footage to go through
that we've got to sort through. So it's quite a bit of stuff there to use.
I think we're gonna split it over maybe 4 or 5 videos, but we're looking at maybe 2.5 hours worth of footage to organize.
Yeah.
It's funny because like shout to Loaded Ready Run, like Ben and Kathleen, who like remembered me from Amsterdam. I spoke to Graham a bit while I was there, but I didn't speak to as much as Ben and Kathleen, and that they remembered me from Amsterdam. And they're obviously like Misha remembered me because like I spoke to her a lot in Amsterdam. So, yeah, like a lot. Some of them like who we interacted with in film concert did remember me. I finally got to have that beer with Tappy Toe Claws as well. After the best bit was I managed to I sat in on the EDH Rec cast. They gave me a free box of sleeves because it was my birthday, and I got to. Did I ever tell you the Triven story?
Oh God, here we go.
No.
Right. I told this to the EDH Rec cast, so I don't know if it will appear on if they record it, but
so they were asking for like silly stories, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was this, yeah. So you were like, yeah, I know one.
So this is what I told the EDH Rec cast. So this is a true story. So we have a friend called Triven who we stay with in Birmingham whenever Axion go there. Now, lovely bloke, very friendly. You do anything for anyone. He just doesn't play Magic as much as us, so he's not as up to speed on the rules. So there was a game we played. He kept a no-land hand with a Soul Ring on the reasonable assumption that, okay, he'll draw a land, he'll be able to play it, he'll be all right.
Okay.
He drew 1 land the whole game.
Impressive.
It was a bounce land.
Oh
no! Wow.
Yeah.
So from there, the term "doing a Triven" was born. You know, and Triven, if you ever watch this, we love you. You're a great person.
I'm sending him the link to this video.
When dear.
Yeah, Lander is a bit rough. I've kept a few one-landers with a Soul Ring, but
I've done that.
Yeah, I don't know where he kept that hand.
It's a funny anecdote.
We rib him for that all the time. So.
And that actually got a lot of laughs from the EDH Rec cast and the audience there. And also got a round of applause with us from the UK and how everyone was very friendly. So yeah, no, that was a good experience to do that at my poor friend's expense as well. Even though he wasn't there, but he was there in spirit for a few moments.
So just coming back to what you were saying about the recording content at Amsterdam, I had the exact same thing. Dom will tell you, like I had all sorts of plans, and it just went completely out the window. I was just purely, it's like any new experience, but I very quickly realized I was like, I have massively overstretched myself. You know, this was early day con Alex. You know, taking 9 commander decks with him. Do you know what I mean? This type of stuff.
Oh, we've all done that.
And that just about set up. Whereas I maybe take 3. And even that, I'm lucky. I mean, I played quite a bit at Vegas, but it's only because I was staying with Ed and Adam. So we were playing Commander in our room. Like, but other than that, we didn't really do too much of it. But it's funny where also, by the time I kind of got to Amsterdam, I was like, right, I want to do this, this, and this. And I want to see what it is, but you just don't play because the problem is, as a content creator, you're not there to play, are you? You are there to, you know, whether it's showcase it, go see stuff and relay it, and all that sort of stuff. Like this, and there's such. I find there's self-pressure on myself to make the most of the opportunities. Not everybody gets to. I found Vegas like there was a bit more pressure because not everybody gets the opportunity to go. You know, like yourself with Chicago, so. You want to showcase it. You want to make sure you see it instead of when someone goes, "Oh, how was Chicago? Yeah, it was great." Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you want to be able to do that, but
you're trying to sell it. You really need to sell it, but and at the same time, it's so big that
you never can.
You can't really plan it.
No,
you can't plan it exactly what it's so big, and things can, and when you're over there, things can change on a dime. Like you might run into somebody you weren't expecting, or you might get called away because there's a game going on. Like you can, and I deliberately didn't organize what I was doing as rigidly as I might do, which is bad in a way that gives me a bit of anxiety. Like I like to have things perfectly planned out. But on the other hand, it also meant there was no rush to get from point A to point B or play X game with Y people. So I think the only times I was really in a bit of a blind panic was seeing if I could blag my way into this Dragon Show party, and after I think it was over the Saturday to Sunday. So I wanted to get the Chad Magic guys, Wally and Christian, something to show my appreciation for how much it helped me, especially when they had other things on their mind to go on. So I eventually figured we hit on the idea of getting them some artist proofs. So I got free. Initially, the idea was maybe getting some WarRoom artist proofs. I did get one. I gave that to Aimee. So I got 3 artifacts artist proofs, all cost the same. Different artifacts. Went to him and said, "All right, here's 3. We all take one. Pick the one you want, and we'll keep one each." And therefore, the least I could do was give them something as a souvenir. And I think they appreciated it.
Again, it's that sense of community, isn't it? And it is surprising the people around you. Sort of, I had something very similar with when we went to Vegas. I organised a trip for me, Adam, and Ed. And so getting together with Ed was fantastic. It was absolutely great because I don't know if you guys have met Ed, but he's a keen collector and he likes shiny cards just as much as me. So we were terrible together, and we were talking about this on the plane, and it was one of those things when all of a sudden we sort of turned to each other and was like, "Yeah, this is going to be he's my type of man." Do you know what I mean? And I was really looking forward to it. So we went off and we had a little look around, and we were just like 2 kids in a candy shop. It was absolutely fantastic. It really was. We had absolutely great time. And one thing I'd said to him, I was looking for the Japanese Strixhaven version of Brainstorm in foil. So
the Mystical Archive ones. Yeah,
exactly.
So
yeah. So I don't know if you guys know, but I like to pick a card from an event, and that's like my card from that card, and that's what I wanted. And I saw one early days, and I thought, that's all right. I'll shop around. It'll be fine. And then got busy. I got to the end of the con, and I sort of said to Ed, like, I want to go look for this Brainstorm. We started asking around. Couldn't find one anywhere.
Oh, no. You missed the bloated sales.
And I was absolutely gutted. And it got to one of those scenarios when I just thought, I'm going to have to skip it or, try and get another one another time. But we were literally finishing. We were on our way to the airport, and Ed turns to me and he sort of says, I got a gift for you. And I was like, oh, okay. And he pulled it over and he just handed me this Brainstorm. And I was just like, oh, you picked one up. I was like, well, let me know what you own. And he's just like, Alex, it's my gift to you. Like, honestly, he's such a gent. So this is Ed from Mid Cards is where he is. So he's not too far from us. He does, him and his partner, they do all sorts of stuff. They do sealed product singles. They also like make commander decks. Like, massive shout out to Mid Cards. Ed's a great guy as well, and his partner's lovely as well. But it was such a nice thing. He was like, no. You've done so much for the organization. Again, it's that community, and it's so nice. Like, you managed to do, you've done it for the Chad Magic guys as well. But I mean, I just, like you sort of said earlier, I never hear a bad word at these conventions. And that's such a nice thing, because you don't want to go into these scenarios feeling like, oh, great, I'm going to get run down or whatever. Like, you don't have seem to have these problems, which is so lovely.
Don't have the opportunities to. No. Yeah, you might run into bad players, but you don't think any of us can say we run into a bad community.
I think actually with all the,
I think that's rare.
Every time I've been to the conventions, I don't think I've ever actually had like genuinely horrible games.
Yeah.
We had a guy
you go away thinking like,
we had a guy at one of the Command Fest, didn't we, Dom? Remember we sat down and that guy was just, do you remember it's me, you, was it Pete? No, it weren't Pete. It might have been Lee, actually. And this guy sort of sat down and was just like, oh, game of Commander. And we sort of said, we were talking about like rough levels, and we come to a conclusion. And when he started to play, it was like, you have misrepresented this so much. It was so oppressive, which is fine. But then we would have played things to have dealt with it. And it just got to the point where it's like, This one is yours. Like, I can't remember exactly what happened, but he absolutely shut us down. And it was one of those things where he just went, "Oh, thanks for the game," scooped up and walked away like as quickly as he rocked up, and we were like, "Well, that was fun."
Oh, we had that at the first Command Fest in Birmingham, the first one post pandemic, where it was me, you, and Trivet, and we needed a fourth, and a guy rocked up with was it a Sakama Primal Calamity deck? And he said, "Oh yeah, it's not that powerful." And it turned out no, he only lost because the three of us had to team up to take him down. His deck was grossly
that was
understated.
It was still fun, and like you get mismatched games like that in.
Yeah, it happens. It happens everywhere and anywhere, doesn't it?
It happens. I think most of the time it's not down to malice, which is the main thing. It's not down to someone sitting down and thinking I'm gonna like take this game, because there's no stakes in that. It's just a genuine mismatch of things, and like there's no intention, I think, most of the time behind that. This is even going back to like, because I used to go to the GPs like pre-pandemic as well all the time, and even there, like you didn't really get many really genuinely bad games. You're playing on the tables in the lunch hall outside the actual convention because there's no space inside it, and just having to laugh at people, and people are just wanting to play Magic all the time once you're there. So
there was one chap that one of the Black Lotus events was like unknown plane chase. So it was like it's similar like unique plane chase cards which are relevant to the event. They're quite fun. They wouldn't be legal in other things, but so it was me and Looney Lucy, and we had two other people, two randoms joined us to make up a pod of 4. And the first guy, pretty good, knew what he was doing. The second guy, and I feel so sorry for him, he had been out of the game for decades, and he rocked up with a commander deck. They didn't know how to play it, and it was the Eldrazi Precon from On Horizons 3, which is not newbie friendly. The poor guy just looked so out of his depth, like running it. I felt sorry for him, but also like some like, take your turn. This is so excruciating watching you figure your deck out. So just try not to. But
there's the whole thing of like, I guess new people shouldn't get those kind of decks, and they wouldn't be able to judge what that deck's actually capable of and what it's doing.
Especially an Eldrazi deck.
They're not clued on to be able to play it as effectively as well. So it's like it's all these kind of things that makes it an awkward game, doesn't it?
It's difficult because as a generalization, we push precons towards new players, particularly when they want to play Commander, because it is a get out of it. But you're dead right. They're like so. I know it's a slightly different level, but the black Warhammer 40k deck, the black artifacts decks,
Necrons,
like I love it, but I cannot get my head around how to play it, and it's partly because I don't play it enough. I've played it a couple of times, but it is very out of my comfort zone in terms of play style. But hence why I wanted to pick it up. But I sort of sit there and I think, what's that? Sorry.
Is that just because it's got no blue or white?
That's exactly why it is. That's exactly what it is.
Exactly right. So if we handed you a mono black deck, would you not know what to do with it?
I have the Necrons deck. It's just over there.
Yeah, and how many times have you won with it?
I don't think I've actually won with it.
There you go.
I've lost many times by having the enchantment, which would milled you out.
But
the mono white player doesn't know how to play non-mono white decks. There's a shocker.
At the core of it, it's a combo deck, isn't it? And you sit there and you think, imagine handing that to a very new player. And you're like that's kind of the point I'm trying to make there, which is it's pretty crazy. But just one last thing before we sort of move away from Chicago. But Chris, did you see how much of the bracket system did you see? Because I'm really interested. Obviously, Chicago was supposed to be, initially they were talking about Vegas was supposed to be their initial punt into this. Obviously, it got delayed. Fine, they put the bracket system into place. But how much of it did you see, and what were your experiences with it?
So I did get a chance to play it myself, but I was privy to some of it. As a slightly, so I just Aimee doesn't have to play non-mono white deck because I don't know how to play any white decks. So there we are. I hold my hand up. So we talk about how people underestimated decks. I think now it's going to be category 3 is going to be the new power level 7. That's my hot take from Godis. But anyway, subject at hand. So I didn't get to play it much myself, but then again, most of my Commander games are limited to LobbyCon in my hotel room. But the impression I got was people seem keen to give it a go. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, though, because of how such a departure it is from the old Rule Zero discussions we used to have. Because this is now a bit more formal, whereas before it's more like at a pod's discretion. So what they did, so they had dedicated testing, if it's like a beta testing area or beta testing pods, so you could give it a run through, which I think is a smart move.
Yeah, that's good.
It shows that they're not just dumping it on people with no expectations. It's going to be a gradual rollout as they iron out the kinks. So what I could see, because when I initially heard of the brackets, my initial thought was it's going to take a while for people to get used to.
Yeah.
And people may not get used to it, but it's going to be easier to adapt than people think. What I saw people playing it wasn't as intimidating and difficult as maybe I first feared.
Okay.
And the game's like, okay, you might need to. It's going to be a new way of thinking, and people are going to need to adapt to it. But yeah, but the games I saw briefly, it looked like they were like fairly balanced. Interactions were positive. Some confusion over what might constitute a category 3 to a category 4 or category 2 deck, for example. But overall, it seemed positive and encouraging, and it looks like Wizards and the Rules Committee are taking feedback very seriously on this. So
good. That is good.
Whatever trepidation people may have had with the new rules group and the big upheavals we've had, it's in safe hands. You know, Gavin's running the show, and if Gavin's running the show, you know it's going to be looked after and taken care of. So yeah, I think more testing required, just to ensure that confusion and mismatches get to a minimum. But overall, people seem to take to it quite well. It should lead to more balanced games in future and, much more positive experiences. Everyone's decks will get a chance to shine. And are you going full on serious and spiky, or do you just want to play a meme deck and just see some cool stuff interactive? So very much in the old vein of the whole, was it Spike, Timmy's, and what was the other one? Johnny's, yeah. Like the old nicknames they used to have for decks gone by.
They should rename the tiers to some of those.
Yeah. So would Vorthos be tier 1?
Vorthos would probably be tier 1, I guess. Yeah.
Vorthos
Timmy would be like tier 2.
Don't come at me, Vorthos tier players.
Johnny
I love you, really.
Tier 3. And then Spikes would have to be tier 5. They wouldn't have CDH.
I think it has to be at that point.
What would the other ones be? I don't know. That's a bit awkward trying to think of which ones it'll be. But yeah,
there's bound to be nicknames coming out from it.
See, weirdly, I'd put Spikes as 4 because there's that little edge that it's that like try hard, like they really. Whereas and this is just not me defending CDH because I love CDH, but I feel like it. I've never had any issues with CDH because you sit down, you all know what you're there to go do, and there's always been nothing but good games. Whereas to me, that idea of spikiness is someone that's almost like win at all costs,
no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. But
anything goes at that point,
including like a bit of a twisting of information to get that little, that little bit more, that little edge over someone sort of thing. Which I don't know. That's where I'd place that. And also, interestingly, you were saying about that you think 3's going to be the next 7. I think it's going to be 3.5 is the new everything's a 7. That's what I think.
I hear 3.5 and I think of a version of Dungeons and Dragons, which was it 3rd or 4th that people don't like? Close enough, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the bracket system is a good tool. It can be useful, but it's as long as people are actually using it with the intention that it's being put out for, rather than just. Because you can look on things like Moxfield and it says your deck's a 2. That doesn't mean it's a 2.
Oh, my Rex Nibbler deck was somehow a category 3, and I don't understand why. That's a meme deck.
But then, that's the thing. You need to go in there and actually look at, okay, what was the intention behind this deck? Where should it actually sit? And rather than just using the things that the tools that you've been given as set in stone, there's more to it than that.
Have you both had a chance to look at the category system or seen how your decks? What carries your decks fit into yet? Or are they all freeze for some bizarre reason? That's what most of mine.
It's interesting, because like you say, I put a lot of my decks up on Moxfield, so it gives you a rating, or it tells you how many games, and they've actually split it out. So there's a game changer section, which makes it quite easy to see the ones you've got in your deck. It's actually you've got a lot of these 3s that, if you take these 3 cards out, that means it's a 2, but it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It just means a 2 is your basic precon with no upgrades, right? And then almost anything else is going to be a 3 leading into a 4, honestly.
I mean, Moxfield got that rolled out very quickly, but then I understand they were in contact with WotC anyway. So fair play that they had that there for people to assess.
Actually,
most of my decks though as well came out from those ratings as a 2. And it's just like they're not.
Yours
they're
are not twos.
They're not all 2s. I still need to actually go through them and actually like assign my own ratings to them all. But I've done it for a few of them, but it's just it's sitting down to actually go through all that when you've got so many decks. Like
I was just relieved that my Narset and my Jory decks are category 4 because the amount of time and effort I put into those. So that's like validation. Anyway, sorry, Alec, you were going to say something then. You're going to.
I was going to say sometimes your commander just tells you that it's a 4. Right, it's like there's no getting around it sometimes, and it's like especially the commanders that are on the game changer list, instant 4s.
Yeah, we discussed this on a podcast, and I think it's very important to caveat that this is their beta. They are trialing and testing, and this will change over time. Actually, interestingly enough, I don't know if either of you guys knew this, but actually Scryfall also indicate game changers on their listing, which I didn't realize. I didn't realize till the other day. I was like, why is that a funny color? And I looked at it, it's like, I think I was looking at a copy of Ristic or something like that. And I was like, oh, it's because we got some friend coming in there.
Very friendly.
It's the same as well. So there's a little like GC over the corner of the card.
Exactly.
So instantly.
Which I think is great. I mean, fundamentally, I think again, we've spoke about this on previous pods, so we won't lean into this too much. But I think this is a great system for beginners and for people new to the Commander format.
Yes,
it will help identify levels a bit easier. But I think like the old system, so like by old system I mean the 1 to 10. I think if you use it with the best intentions and full integrity, you will get the most out of the system. If you bend the truth or misuse it, I think you're going to cause potential feel bads with other players. Again, I'm a firm believer. It's the 1% that misuse the tool that will give the tool a bad name. I just hope it gives time to settle and to blossom into something a bit more concrete. But I mean, I'm very impressed with what they've done so far. So, and I'm glad that I'm really glad actually they were actually testing it in Chicago, and I hope they get some really good positive feedback.
I hope so too.
Or feedback they can use to go, okay, this was good, this wasn't quite so good, what can we do? And I just reiterate what you just said earlier. I think Gavin's a safe pair of hands. I know the storm that happened beforehand, but he's good. He is good, safe hands, and I think he will navigate that into a good place. 100%.
He takes it very seriously, and it's change. It's going to be intimidating, especially if you're old and cranky, like I think we all are. So, but it's I think it's positive change, and I don't want to feel like I'm become a big WotC shill, but the impression I got from the Royal Screen, also at Chicago, was like everyone at WotC is a good person. You know, they want what's best for the game. Okay, they might be working to constraints or short turnarounds or like high mandates higher, but they're trying to do what's best for the game. You know, I can't fault the staff working there one bit. So
I think one of the things I like about that system at the moment is that it is going to change a little bit, but it is kind of coming from one place.
Good framework
in a way. So it's coming from that commander. Is it kind of format panel? I think they call it now. What kind of panel? It's coming from them. It's going to end up having hopefully communicated well enough from them as well. The communication's been okay so far, but it's going to end up being the same thing and from one place. And from before, when we had like the 1 to 10 system that was used, and like nobody used the certain numbers, and everyone kind of had their own little scale of it. It was all coming from different kind of places.
Yeah.
There was so many mixed messages with how that system was supposed to work.
No, you're dead right.
It never worked. So having a set system that's coming from one place that they're going to test and they're going to try and like iterate and improve, and it's all from the same place as well, and everyone has access to that same information, it should hopefully mean that, 2 years down the line, we have a nice, decent system we can all use.
Yeah.
It's something to look forward to.
I think it is, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how this continues and how what further testing results in.
100%. Yep. Which is all I think all Commander players ask for, which is something that was better than the previous system. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Like even this time next year, it should have bedded in a lot more, and we should have to start. I mean, we've got our first. Is it April? We've got our first potential bannings and unbannings. So that'll be the first announcement where they start to introduce, potential bans or unbans. It'd be interesting to see what they do. I'm keenly looking forward to it.
I think that one of the issues of the old system was how very hard it would be to categorize your decks into a single number. I think that's kind of where the whole joke about things is 7, because when it's just a number system, it's hard to figure out where your deck slots into. What we got here is less numbers, but with clearer guidelines for each level. Yep. So and for someone who likes this organization, that's a godsend for me, because it gives me a better idea of where do I categorize my decks. Like, the downside could also be that you could potentially get a big disparity in parallels between various category 3 decks. You may meet the criteria, but I think as we discussed, as you said,
intention that goes behind it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as you said,
a bit of honesty with yourself when you're rating your own decks, doesn't it? In some way, there's a lot of cards that probably should be on the game changer list that aren't, for example.
Yeah, which is one negative aspect of it at the moment, is that you have the whole thing of a new player coming in might be able to look at that list and go, oh, I've got a precon I fit in here, but how long does it take for you playing the game to realize what a 3 actually looks like and what a 4 actually looks like, regardless of the game changes and tutors and things like that? It's going to take a while for people to actually get the hang of that kind of system as well.
Because you're going to have good games, you're going to
see how that goes after the iteration.
I think just leaning to your point, what you're saying there is there's a big difference between playing a strong deck and playing a synergistic deck, because actually I think you can have a synergistic deck that has none of the game changes on would probably be more powerful over a course of 100 games than potentially and maybe not so much a synergistic deck but with game changers in. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is where actually I think where we're going to start seeing the biggest differences will be between that 2 and 3, not the 3 and 4. Although the 3 and 4, I think the void is going to be massive. But I think where a lot of people are going to get unstuck will be, but this is a pre-con deck compared to a pre-con that I've put a Ristic Study in, a Smothering Tithe, and maybe just leave it at that. Just those 2 cards, that makes it very, very differently. But you take those 2 cards out and you really work on the synergy, you've got a very different deck there. But again, this is their early stages. They can't do everything in one shout, particularly in the timescale. We'll see what happens moving forward. I've got some positive views on it. I think there's going to be some teething issues. I think there is going to be people that misuse it, whether that's to try and tarnish it or for their own good. I hope we don't see much of that. I haven't seen much of it in the past.
You play one game with them and then you don't play with them again. So
right. Or they rock up and they say, "Yeah, this is my 3," and you go, "No, I don't think so. I'm going to play my 4 because I know what this is." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know. I think Dom said this in the past. At the end of the day, when you sit down to a pod and you go, "Okay, what are we going to play?" You're going to put your hand in your bag. You're going to pull out a deck and you're going to say, "I'm going to play this," and everyone works around it. So, the bracket system, I think, works in certain scenarios. We jokingly were talking about this at our LGS last week on a Wednesday. We will never use the bracket system because we are a pod of people that always play together. We know the levels we all play at. We've all played long enough. So it won't affect us, whatever they do. But I think it's really interesting to have that framework in place and to build upon moving forward. I think it's all positive stuff at the end of the day.
You trust your friends. So
there is that whole thing of if you're just playing in the same pods, you don't really need to engage with the bracket system.
Exactly.
Yes, it's rule 0, right?
Yeah.
But there is also if you go to events, if you go to an LGS to play and you play with some random people, it's worth at least making sure you know what the bracket system is.
That is a prime spot to use it.
Fall on there.
Yeah.
Because even if if you're going to play with any random people, if you're going to go to conventions at all, you're probably going to need to know where your decks are going to fit roughly.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't engage with it at all, because you're like, "Oh, I'm going to play my pod," and then you go to a convention, you don't know anything about it.
But at least now they can turn an A4 bit of paper landscape, and they can print out what they basically sent out on their social media stuff, and you can go. And this is the basics. Now, you don't need to know the full ins and outs of it, but it gives people a very quick grasp. Because when you can sort of say, when someone's like, "Oh, yeah, it's full of tutors, but it's a 3," it's like, well, hold on. And you can almost refer to it. This actually states that blah, 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 blah. This isn't This isn't just, a Wishclaw Talisman in there. You've got a Demonic Tutor, you've got a Vamp Tutor, you've got all the tutors. This cannot be a free because of that. So at least there's something a bit more steady in place, like 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I've got one question.
Got
What do you think about the Game Changers list?
Dom, you go first with this.
Of cards.
Oh, here we go. Asking the real
Uh,
question.
yeah, I think green and red got off extremely lightly.
Very lightly.
Especially red.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like they've picked out these cards, and I think you can, from that, they said obviously the list is subject to change. But because they're using it so integrally to the brackets, actually, it needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Are you really going to have a list of 200 cards? I don't think they'll ever do that. You just got to think, okay, look at the cards that are on the list. What is this card trying to do? And obviously, you can probably say, okay, well, these cards are kind of similar. They're probably around the same. Maybe they cost 1 mana more. Do something slightly different. But you would say, okay, well, that's probably near enough a game changer. Right? Just by looking at the cards on the list, you can kind of see what their intentions are. But yeah, the list it's missing a lot of stuff. And there's some stuff that's on there that maybe shouldn't be. I don't know. It's interesting that they will be using this as the kind of watch list for bannings.
Yeah.
I don't
as well.
It was kind of like not so much a watch list for bannings. It was just that if something wasn't yet banned, it might go off there. It's like, I don't think it's really a watch list as such. It's kind of weird wording in a way, isn't it? That like
it's kind of like Wizards doing Robert De Niro going the whole.
Yeah, the wording was if a card gets banned, unless it's an emergency like Nadu, it will come from this.
It has to, it'll have to come for that list. Hence why I think it's been referred to a bit like that.
So it's like if a card comes out, say in the next set, and it goes straight on the game changer list, you might think actually there's a chance that might get banned.
Oh, a bit like Cranial Ram in Pauper after Modern Horizons 3, to the point where Emma Partner was getting people coming up to her and signing that card ironically.
Yeah, that was the pre-ban, wasn't it? It was banned in Pauper before it came out.
Yeah,
I love
it very often, but
I love as soon Gavin said that. I love Gavin said, "Oh yeah, there's a card we're watching for Pauper," and as soon as that was his, just I was like, "Yeah, this has to be it."
Yeah.
My thing with the game changer list though is that I don't think any of the tutors should be on there.
Oh,
that's interesting because obviously EDH, right? It's a singleton format, but you've got 2 copies of a card in your deck. Would be the easiest way to say it.
But the bracket 3 is only 3 tutors.
Unbanned Paradox Engine.
Yeah,
you're allowed 3 tutors anyway, and no game changers. And then bracket 4 is game changers. So you're already controlling the tutors with the lower brackets. So why
yes,
are they also on the game changers list?
This is why I think Green's got off light, because they're not counting land tutors, are they?
Yeah, or Worldly Tutor or anything like that.
Then, I think Greens and Zenith got on there, didn't it? But that's about it.
If you took off the tutors off the game changers list, the list is already like half the size it is now. There's so many tutors on that list. And
like
you can put more things on that list and it doesn't grow so big.
I think that's a really fair point. This is my biggest worry. I know sort of Dom touched on, you've just touched on there. My biggest worry is we end up with a game changers list of 200 cards, and actually I think that does nothing but just muddies the water. Because exactly. I mean, I think it's difficult. Are there cards? Dom is dead right. There are cards that are probably not on my game changer list that probably should be over some of the other ones. So you're right in that respect, Amy, and I agree with you, the tutors actually. But I think they had to put something in place initially to build upon, and I'm hoping once they've done a couple of iterations of like bans and unbans or whatever they're going to do, I'm hoping that stuff then starts to settle and we start to get I mean, I would personally, I'm a big fan of having as minimal banned as possible. I understand there are cards that are banned for different reasons than just playability, and I understand all of that, including power. But I also do think that I would like to see that list quite small. I would actually rather see it instead of like a game changers as what Dom was sort of saying earlier, which is we're keeping an eye on this because it is causing problems potentially or issues more so than, have a list of 200 cards. I think it should, I'd kind of like maybe 20 to 30. I know that's really slim pickings, but I think it makes it easier to remember these cards instead of, because if there's 200 cards, you've got to remember 200 cards potentially. I know, all four of us are going to sit down. We're going to play a game. It's not going to really matter because we're going to have an open conversation. And we're going to be able to work this out ourselves. But
we trust each other enough to
exactly. But again, we're talking about people that are coming in for new players potentially, or gives people a framework to work at conventions and venue, and events and stuff like that. I think if you start sort of, supplementary handing out a list of 200 names, like just make sure you don't keep an eye on these cards, make sure they're not on your decks, blah blah blah. Like it's gonna get to the point where it'll get almost too confusing, so people will start to drop it. I think when you get to that point, you've lost the room. I think they want to keep it nice and simple, at least initially. I think it will be far more successful at that moment in time, more so than anything else.
I think you can just build your deck.
It feels like the sorry, go on, Dom.
I was just going to say, obviously, you can just ignore this game change list and say my decks are 4.
I mean, playing with power, dude. It feels a bit like that subplot in RoboCop 2, where they give him so many directives it becomes unable to function. You think that too many cards may bog things down. You always kind of think, should they have taken the Pioneer approach? Have a few cards banned or on the watch list initially, like the fetch lands were in Pioneer, and then gradually add more cards as they get more data to work with. But then again, Pioneer was a brand new format and a big 70 unknown, whereas with Commander, they kind of have a rough idea of what is powerful, what isn't. So you could argue for both.
Yeah, so you've got to remember, Commander has been, even Wizards admit that has been thrusted into the limelight because of its popularity, more so than they wanted to build it into the behemoth it is now. So they're playing catch up, and I think this is just another sign of that catch up. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Like, I think the bracket system is interesting.
It's got promise. I'm looking forward to it.
I agree with you. I think it has got promise. Be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to, like I said, the first bans and unbans announcement. I think that will give an intent of what they want to do moving forward. It'll be a testing the water, and then let it settle and can all go from there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the recent stuff. We'll just touch on some of the recent announcements. Since we leave last podded and whatnot.
Everything's doomed. Sell out now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Knee-jerk reaction there. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'll edit it out. It's fine.
Yeah, just edit that out. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the first things, there has been Dom. You're probably better to talk about this than I am, but there was an announcement not long ago talking about foundations. Basically, there has been an issue with foundations and the printing. I don't know what it's like at your LGS guys, but we haven't seen. I haven't seen a foundations bundle come back into our LGS since probably week 1. I certainly haven't seen any collector boosters come in since week 1. I don't even know if there's play boosters, or if there has, they've gone pretty sharpish. I don't know what it's like your neck of the woods, but they're obviously identifying there's been an issue with this latest announcement. But what's it like your neck of the woods?
I don't think we ran out of play boosters.
Play boosters are still there.
Everything else is gone, I think.
We haven't. So let's be fair. Foundations, great set, and has done a lot for standard. Like,
so we did run out of play boosters actually. So we went trying to find some.
Oh yeah, we needed some for
we needed some for prize pools, and we couldn't get any.
We had to get
all the LGSs in the town.
So yeah, you're right.
They did run out briefly.
I think they've restocked, but a couple of weeks back there was none. So yeah. Let's be honest, Foundations, fantastic set, has done a lot for standard. Like, I know Wally and Christian have said, there are standard events for firing. There's standard events firing at our LGS. And to put some context, all the pre-releases at our local one sold out. Foundations has been that good and that popular that I'm not surprised it's been hard to find. But at the same time, for a set that's meant to be in set for 5 years, did they not anticipate demand? Or, like, should they have realized there's going to be people wanting more of these cards? It's hard to say. I don't know what it's been like for you two. So,
yeah, I mean, I think I'll go through what the announcement says. So they've said that there won't be any more collector boosters or bundles printed. So those products basically been discontinued. But they've said collector boosters. They're supposed to be a single run because they're for collectors. Okay, fair enough. Bundles, I think, is a shame, but they have said they're going to be reprinting more play boosters. and the starter collections as well. So that was a bundle of a set amount of cards. You knew what you got in it, and there was also some boosters in there, basically. So I picked up one of those. That was really good. But yeah, no more collector boosters, no more bundles.
That kind of makes sense
for collector boosters
in a way when you think for the collector boosters. I guess for the bundles as well, it's like how much product do they want to be reprinting of this thing for the next 5 years? I guess, but like in the collector boosters, just trying to think off the top of my head what was actually in those. And is any of that in, because they change the booster pack makeups all the time now. Well, they have done every years. Is it there's cards that are in there which just aren't in the play boosters, isn't there? The printings and certain artworks, I think, are they, because they don't appear on the random slot at all?
Yeah,
the Ladder Royale's
like
Japanese one.
No, it'll be artworks. That's it. Yeah, artworks and special guests. They're the main things that you won't see.
Special foil and things.
Yeah.
But is it with play boosters? Have they got like a slot which is like a random card which could be from the not the special guest ones, obviously, but like the other ones? I think it's still you still have access to those cards. It's just rarer, I guess.
Yeah. So there's nothing in a collector booster mechanically that you can't get from a play booster. So from that point of view, it's fine, right?
Play boosters, you need them around. They're the lifeblood, especially for those, because that was their idea to try and salvage draft and sealed events.
Particularly for effectively a core set, like there needs to be around, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's not a problem really for getting hold of cards as long as they keep the reprinting of it available and stores aren't running out again. I guess, and they want to keep standard going. I don't play standard, so I've got no stakes in that anyway. But there are several people in our LGS who play that, who enjoy that. Several people on the Discord who enjoy that. So you want those people to be able to get their cards when they want them and be able to build their decks. So.
It's an intro set. So reprinting starter decks, play boosters, that makes sense. They're the ones you'd expect them to do. Collector boosters are for like those who just want to treat themselves. I feel like losing bundles is a mistake though, because I think everyone likes a bundle, especially those just. I think one of the first things I got was a Tarkir bundle. I think every new player would like a bundle. I think not reprinting those is probably a mistake. Like, because it gives you something to store your cards. It's also like a bunch of boosters and extra bits like lands. It's a good way to start your collection.
Exactly.
Taking that away is, I think, that's a loss. That's a big loss to.
I guess the argument would be that every set comes with the bundle, so you could just get the latest bundle.
Yeah.
But getting those Foundations cards, and also with the 6, we kind of touched on it in the last pod, that actually now that there's going to be 6 sets every year in Standard, a lot of these Foundations cards might just fall out of Standard anyway, naturally. And
there's, unlike what I think people higher ups may think, we're not made of money. I know Magic is an expensive hobby, and maybe taking up Lego might save you money, but we're not made of the stuff.
I don't know.
It's cheaper now to be doing Warhammer instead.
I
don't know.
I don't know about that.
We're probably nearly there.
There's an Imperial Knight sat here just behind me.
Yeah.
I've got a Lego Concorde looking at me from the corner, so I'm hard to want to complain there.
Yeah, we've also got Warhammer figures on the thing behind us.
So actually, in the last pod, Wally said very interesting to us. He said, actually, if you want to moan and complain about the price of Magic, it says you want to look at the pricing of like model trains, model railways, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
Because that's mega money. And the problem is so I used to, I had a railway when I was a kid, and it was big money then. I dread to think what it is now. If you wanted, the classic Flying Scotsman or something like that's going to be mega money now. But it's also not an excuse for what the pricing should be. 100%.
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean, when we talk about price, especially now we're hearing that Universes Beyond products will be sold at a premium price, which I think. One thing I post on Blue Sky about this, that for all the good work Foundations has done for Standard, I'm concerned that with 6 sets a year and half of them at higher pricing, it's gonna like undo that work. You're gonna start pricing people out of Standard. Like you expect things like Modern, Vintage, Legacy to be like the pricier ones for more established players. You can't I'm worried that you shouldn't be trying to price people out of standard.
This is exactly was my point in the last pod, and there's a genuine concern that particularly if it being Universes Beyond and a premium priced, there's always going to be either less of it. I'm going to say just a blanket statement that potentially less would be opened, or effectively they're going to want power creeps cards to sell these new products. And if you get to a point where they're putting up the price of standard, I mean, I think that's going to be a real negative to the format, and they could end up pushing it back into the position it was not that long ago.
My concern would be, and I said this in the last pod as well, when this decision was made, and whether this Final Fantasy set, it will be so powerful that, and
it's going to sell out. Final Fantasy is going to sell out. Probably on par, if not more than Lord of the Rings, I reckon.
So
will it be just more powerful than the standard set?
Our LGS owner is convinced it's going to be. Sorry, Amy. Our LGS owner has straight out said this is going to outsell Lords of the Rings. He is just like, it's going to. He put pre-orders up. They went just like that. He said it's going to be mental.
Go on, Amy.
So I was really looking forward to the Final Fantasy set before the prices were revealed. I think this was when I got really not as looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I just didn't
It's a shame.
All I'm buying
it's a real shame.
The only thing I'm buying, I was planning on trying to buy and collect the whole set. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not even going to try and buy the singles. It's going to be too expensive. And I'm just buying one of the commander decks, and that's it. That's the only thing I'm buying from the.
I've pre-ordered.
Yeah. So and that's just because of the prices. And I wanted to try and do, because what we did with Chris with Lord of the Rings, we bought a booster box and we opened that on stream and talked about the games and talked about the films for him.
And the lore,
we're thinking of doing the same thing for me with Final Fantasy, because I love Final Fantasy. To open up a booster box and talk about the games and talk about the lore, talk about things like that. But it's just too much.
Yeah.
Too much money to put into that, to not really get what I want out of it.
What
you need at the end of the day, will you? From a single booster box, that's the problem.
No,
because the set's going to be huge as well, is it? It's more cards than usual, I think.
It's either going to be.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they said about the size of it.
It's. I mean, I don't know really, because you got commander decks and a full standard release, haven't you? So
yeah.
I think that's all I know. Because
the standard, the play booster box is like 230, I think, but that's probably gone up now. And then the collector booster box is about 450 as well.
And to give a point of comparison, we bought a booster box of Double Masters 2022 when it came out, and that was about 220 quid for a single box. So there's a comparison.
A master set as well.
It's as expensive as a master set, and we know that Double Masters was packed with value to justify it, but we don't know what we're going to get with Final Fantasy. But then we haven't seen many of the cards yet, so we don't. We haven't got anything to assess
because if it does end up being the set that's most opened of all time, then the singles won't actually be expensive.
Yeah, that's the saving grace that could end up happening, but it's then robbing
boxes and then not needing 3/4 of the cards.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I think with it going into being standard legal, also into things like Pioneer and Modern, there's going to be cards which see some sort of playability in there, which would be quite expensive. And you've also got just the collectability of the cards. And I think Final Fantasy fans will be far more interested in collecting a lot of the cards than maybe some of the Universes Beyonds that we've had before.
So how much product is going to get open but won't turn up on the secondary market? Final Fantasy players aren't going to know to put it on, say, Card Market or TCG Player, for example.
With the fact that the set's probably going to sell out super quick, are they reprinting it? Are they printing any more? How much more are they going to print of it? It's a standard set in the middle of the year. They're going to move to the next set after a few months, and
it sounds like there won't be.
Probably don't see it again.
Yeah, you would hope it, because it's a standard. They'll reprint at least the play boosters, maybe not the collectors as per Foundations, but
maybe we see it for a little bit. But I don't know with the Universes Beyond as well. They didn't really reprint much of it, did they? So
doesn't that sound like every set we have now?
I mean,
I guess. The thing is that you still see booster packs for the in-universe ones, but will they reprint the Universes Beyond ones as much as that?
I mean, we get so much coming out these days. I can barely remember what came out of what year. So, how long Final Fantasy's getting all the hype, but then how long before we've forgotten about it?
Well,
before
we've got Tark here, literally
out.
around the corner, and you feel like it's barely been talked about, which I think is a real shame because I'm really looking.
It feels like it's an afterthought, which is a shame because that's the one I'm more excited for.
Me too.
We kind of
Me too.
veered off the original conversation.
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
It's what we do. It's what we do.
Yeah.
But then it's somewhat similar too, because we talk about how the scarceability of Foundations stuff and how they used to be printed. Yeah. Because Foundations is so good and naturally so popular, we're probably wind up in the same style with Final Fantasy. It's going to sell out, not just amongst Magic players, but of course Final Fantasy fans who just want to collect it. We're probably going to be talking about this again in a few months' time when it comes out. Like, you can't find it anywhere for love nor money. I mean, it could be wrong. Maybe Wizards knows it's going to sell and they've printed enough to meet demand. It's hard to say, but it could just be, again, swings and roundabouts. We'll be in the same scenario in 3 months' time.
We'll see.
I got told by someone once before, I won't say the name just in case I don't want to put their name to this, but I think they made a really good point, which is I always would sort of say to them, I don't understand why you don't open another one or two, printing workshops or something like that. They could, it takes some investment, but they could double the amount of product they print, blah, 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 blah. And he stood there and he sort of said to me, he's like, why do they want to do that? You got to think at the minute, they're probably selling 100% or close to 100% of their stock. That is the perfect business model. They leave you wanting more by not overprinting it. It puts secondary price up. And you kind of sit there and you went, yeah, unfortunately, I think you're probably right. It's a real shame, isn't it?
And they probably still have enough they can use for like events to give out to people. So, they aren't, they're selling out their stuff, but they're also,
Well, you say that as well, but then we did get pallets turn up in a random dump site.
Yeah,
oh god, yeah.
Mulching masters, Commander Masters, because they put in too much of it. That's exactly what they want to avoid. They want to sell every card.
Exactly. So you do kind of sit there, and as much as that has a bit of a can't quite think of the word, but there's a bit of cynicism to it. You kind of sit there and you think, well, actually, in terms of a business, that's probably exactly what they want, because they want to sell everything they print instead of it sitting there and having to, gift it away to people or whatever.
Well,
it's also a good look for the
storage space in a warehouse is expensive.
Expensive.
So they don't want to be paying to store it anywhere. They want to just sell it on. So needs to just get going and get to the next set, sell everything else.
I mean, you look at their profits. They're not struggling to sell product. I think the last sets that were maybe a major dud was probably War to Spark Aftermath and Innistrad double feature, because you can still find plenty of boosters of that for like £5. And that's not to disparage double feature, because Aimee loves the way that looks, but you could it's so easy to find some sets like that which didn't sell well, whereas others like Foundations, it's you're lucky if you can find a pack or two going anywhere. So
supply and demand, unfortunately, isn't it? When they print value into a set, it flies off the shelf, and when they don't print value into it, quote unquote, it seems to sit on the shelf. And the double feature was a great example about that, really, wasn't it?
It's a quote from
a fair bit of value in the cards. It's just that
but not many people want it.
The cards are scarcer. It's a quote from Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
It definitely didn't. The aesthetic of the set definitely didn't appeal to everybody.
Apart from you, I guess. Apart from you,
yeah.
It was also missold, because when they first announced it, they said it's a curated, special thing, and it wasn't at all. It was just
both sets going to match together. Yeah.
So you could have pulled the same card that was printed in both sets. Just to,
I think a booster was like half and half, roughly.
Something like that, wasn't it?
In this Chris and Val, and I think, but it was basically the sets. Even so, I've been working on collecting the whole set. The set even collector number is like halfway through is one set, and then it goes back to white. So normally with a set, it goes through the colours, and then through the lands, but it goes through the colours and then back through the colours.
Oh, that's
interesting.
The
collector numbers, because they've put the two sets basically back to back in the collector order number.
I didn't realise they'd done that. That is interesting. That is. So let's drag back onto a subject. So we recently had an announcement for the Command Fest. Obviously, we touched on this on the last pod, that it's looking pretty slim that there won't be a European MagicCon. Well, pretty much a guarantee that there won't be a European MagicCon this year. I think they definitely would have announced if need be. But also the Command, also the Command Fests are a bit. Now, they're a bit limited at the minute. Now, admittedly, there's still a lot of time for these to be announced, but importantly enough, Wizards isn't supporting particularly Command Fests in the UK, or they've not announced anything at the minute, which I thought was very interesting, which is putting, obviously, companies like Action in a bit of a bind in a bit of a position, but it sounds like they're slimming down on their Command Fest as well, which is quite an interesting one, isn't it?
They've only got 5, haven't they, as of the time? We had 2. They announced 2 last year. There was one in China, one in the US. And now they've announced 3 more, which does include the one in May in Birmingham, which of course gives people only 2.5 months of notice to make their plans.
I could be wrong, but I don't think that is an official Command Fest. I don't think it's supported by Wizards.
It's on the official website, I think.
Is it?
I haven't seen, so I don't know.
Let me carry on talking. I'll look it up in the meantime. Let me just double check.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting because they haven't been. It's been lacking in announcements for European side of things.
So they've got one. Is it France or Germany? I know JK have just been announced as hosting. I can't remember. I missed completely where it was, but I knew theirs was going to be an official Command Fest, a sanctioned by Wizards Command Fest. I mean, we call the action events Command Fest because they were endorsed. Obviously, the one that's up and coming in Birmingham is a The Gathering event. It's not a Command Fest. Although there will.
Sure,
I thought it was both.
Command Fest.
I think Alex
right.
at Action said it's a Gathering and a Command Fest. Hang on. Okay, so this is on the official Magic website for Command Fest. So the 2025 lineup, as of now, is April 18th to 20th in Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm. Then
May 17th to 18th in Birmingham. And then there's one in Shanghai a week after that.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, and this is on Magic's official website. So yeah, this is.
And they've got the next 3 as well.
And then they've got 3 more events.
June, July.
Sydney, Bonn in Germany, and Worcester in Massachusetts, I think.
Germany was the one. Bonn was the one I heard about. Yes, right.
Yeah, July 11th to 13th, which...
Yeah. So the action one is
it's an official Command Fest.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
that was my mistake. I do apologize, but it's interesting that, I mean, they're not. I'm certainly not. I don't want this to sound like a negativity. I know how hard Action work to host these things. There's not a lot of leeway in timescales for people to book this sort of stuff, is there?
Yeah, it's short notice.
I think we've had this kind of problem before as well, and there was a lot of feedback to Action about that because they were trying to get events announced as early as possible.
Yeah.
But obviously their hands are tied by
Wizards
and like organizing and scheduling and stuff. So there's only so much they can do. But I think I think it might have been about just after the pandemic, the first couple of events they did where it was only about a month's notice, and it's like very difficult to then try and pay for accommodation and pay for the events tickets and have money to spend whilst you're there. So it makes things very, very awkward. Getting a couple of months at least gives you time to spread it out and then like get things organized.
I know, especially for people
they've been better with that the last like year. So it makes me think that this time it's just things in the background just causing issues. Possibly, I don't know whether it's just issues what's the end or what it could be. It appears to be because they're not announcing very many things, so maybe they're being a bit more stringent on what they are and putting money towards.
Credit to Action, they're good at applying feedback. They run a tight ship at Action, and they do the best they can.
Yeah.
And me and Amy are lucky that we have a friend in Birmingham we can go stay with. So we're in that fortunate position where accommodations are not a non-issue. But then for people like, say, Shattergang coming all the way from Scotland, they don't have that kind of luck on their side. And especially like people like Baz with families to consider.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such an ask with only 2 months of notice.
I always find the topic of Action is always a bit of a difficult one for me. I mean, full disclosure, I have an affiliate scheme working with Action, and I do work quite closely with them outside of that as well. So I have a working relationship with them.
Fair enough.
But I would, but in all seriousness, and I say this, putting all that information just put to one side, they are fantastic to work with, and they are so hardworking. They are legitimately, I think, the backbone of the UK Magic the Gathering event community at the minute in time. They are hosting the big events, and they are always striving forward to make things bigger and better. It sounds like I'm shitting out. It really does not. They are fantastic at what they're trying to do, and I can only applaud the work they do, and I hope it continues. I know they've got big plans moving forward, but
the boosters are in the post.
Without them, we would. Without Axion, we wouldn't have like the events the way they were. Like
No.
we wouldn't have met each other. We wouldn't be able to connect with our fellow friends and content creators. So we owe a lot to Axion and the hard work that they all do.
And they really do. They try they try so incredibly hard, and both Forrest Swanson and Liz on the work they do behind the scenes is just absolutely incredible. You know, it wouldn't surprise me too much actually if probably they touch base with your LGS from time to time. I know they do ours, and you just sit and they go down there just to literally get the pulse of the area because they want to. You know, whenever they're in.
Twelve did that. He turned up at our LGS randomly. This is before gathering Cardiff, and we just chat to him about half an hour about events and Magic. So he just turns up at the randomest places. But he's a good bloke.
He is absolutely, and his work ethic, all their work ethic, is absolutely incredible. It'd be interesting to see what happens, but I hope that Wizards don't. I hope they continue to support people and companies like that because. You know, they make these events, particularly without a European MagicCon. You know, obviously we can always go onto the continent and go over to, the JK events are fantastic. I've been to a couple of them now. They're very, very well run. They're starting to pick up traction. You know, who doesn't want to go visit these sort of places? But it's not always easy or affordable to people. So then it's bad enough, trying to find accommodation in the Birminghams and the places like that. So I think they're really, they've got such an important place in the UK community. They're allowing these opportunities so much, and I hope Wizards continue to support them in their future plans. I really do.
I hope so.
For everybody's sake.
It does feel like things are fit on the ground for us. So not to brag, but if I hadn't got that grant, I could not have gone to Chicago. Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah. And then and I imagine if Wally and Christian had been able to get a creative pass, they couldn't have gone to Chicago either. So. When for everyone else though, it's kind of like, where's ours? And it's fair to say that people want to meet their friends, they want to meet their favorite creators, they want to interact with people in person. You can't blame them for the demand is there. Amsterdam was great, and I think Barcelona I heard was good apart from the air conditioning thing. So
yeah.
I think Amsterdam,
the single one in Europe is a miss.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's such a swing and a miss. I really, really do. I
still think there'll be one like late in the year, and it'll be announced in like the summer.
I feel early 2026 is the soonest.
I'm probably just being optimistic and being hopeful.
Yeah,
I think maybe like July we'll get an announcement for one that's going to be in like November.
Maybe.
That's what I'm
thinking. I would love it.
I would love it to happen as well.
I would say realistically, since they've announced dates for America the whole year.
The video and this timestamp, and then just come back to it in July when there's an announcement.
just do a whole. What you just put that? Will this age well? Or something like that?
We'll see. I think all of us would be glad if that did happen.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. Amsterdam for me, like as much as I really enjoyed Vegas, Amsterdam was absolutely fantastic because it obviously we got to spend some time with you guys and all sorts of stuff, and it just brings those local creators together to be able to commune together, to create together, and enjoy the con together.
Exactly.
I still can't quite get my head over why they didn't, but they'll have their reasons, and maybe Amy's right, and maybe we'll be trying to rush organise something towards the end of the year.
Oh God, give us at least 3 months' notice.
Definitely would be really, really nice. Okay, so we're going to start wrapping the pod up, but I want to touch on one last thing, which was announced today. The SpongeBob secret lair that was revealed. Dom, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on these, man?
so they've obviously picked these cards quite carefully, or the artwork for them. So
Yeah.
everyone's seen. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. They've been revealed, and you can sign up for more updates if you did want it. I think it comes out in 2 weeks' time from when we're recording this. And all of the card images are memes. So they're all the different meme images that you see all over the internet for various things. And as someone who just simply never watched SpongeBob, actually, suddenly that's made it a little bit more relevant to me. Because I've never, I think I saw the first movie in the cinema.
Oh, okay.
When they were surfing on David Hasselhoff and that, which was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I never watched the cartoon, so actually for me, seeing these images is quite funny. But I'm probably not going to buy it.
Chris,
that's
Aimee,
kind of where I'm at, though. I'm in the same sort of places. That really, it's the arts are kind of funny. The cards are cool, but I'm not going to buy them myself because doesn't appeal to me in that way, and that just means it's a set that I can skip and just worry about the next thing.
So in my case, I have seen bits of SpongeBob, so I have a bit of understanding of it. Now, again, I'm going to skip it. Like, personally, SpongeBob doesn't do anything for me, but the basic lands, the basic lands, aren't they? That's just kind of like the meme one they've nailed. Especially the counterspell. The only downside to the counterspell thing is that they did do the alternate caps, lowercase caps text as the meme, but they nailed the memes. I will not fault them for that. My only critique is probably the choice of cards they've done. So SpongeBob being Yoda or Squidward being Grazilax. But then you've also got some hits like Gary being Toxrill, or Sandy being Toski. So
there's some quite oppressive cards, really. You kind of sit there and you think for the bright and lovely SpongeBob, you do kind of sit and you think, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah,
but then there's that whole thing though again that these cards are going to be somebody's favorite version of that card.
Exactly.
And like that's brilliant, that's amazing, and like somebody's going to sit down there and love to play with their Gary deck now because it's the Gary version of the Toxrill, and that's their favorite commander or something. Hopefully it's not many people's favorite commanders, but that's that card, and that's the one they like. Or it's that there's the crab, isn't it, as well? That's in there, the 017.
The Mr. Krabs being the 017 one.
There's very few people that I've seen who use that deck and have a lot of fun with that deck, and they're going to have a cool alternate art version of that commander if they want it.
That counter spell is going to be in demand, I think, out of all the. It's like, and I feel like they could have just used an excuse to reprint Alexander Clamilton.
Yes, that was one of the commanders from the Unset, wasn't it?
Yeah. Making black bordered legal, you cowards.
Care about wordy cards.
Interesting.
I think someone we know, I think it was MTG Critical on the WarRoom Discord said, missed opportunities to not print Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy as partner commanders, and I can kind of go with I can see that.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. I'll be honest with you. I do quite like the basic lands, weirdly enough, but I do really like lands. I'll be honest with you. This IP is not for me, and I feel like a bit of an old man at saying this, but I don't really want memes on my Magic cards, if I'm brutally honest with you. But equally, just like you guys, it's quite easy. I don't have to worry too much about this one. If someone sits down over the table for me and plays their SpongeBob, I'm not going to get upset about it. That's absolutely fine. We'll have a good laugh about it and we'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Am I going to be investing in this? No, not really. I've got my eyes on other stuff. Like weird. It does upset me a little bit that Tarkov feels like it's been completely shadowed with everything else that's been going on. Whereas I am
Tarkov Manor. There's 3 of them now.
Tarkov. Not Tarkov.
There's 3 Manors now.
Awesome. Tarkir, I legitimately really looking forward to it. I really like the old one, although I wasn't playing when it was released. I've always gone back to it. I've always liked the
Palms
stories.
Was incredible.
Yeah, I'm genuinely quite excited for it. It really just upsets me a bit. That's how overshadowed it feels at the minute.
They're even bringing the Siege Rider back. A slightly underpowered Siege Rider. He's back. The Scourge of the Menace of Standard is back.
Yeah, he won't be the Scourge standard anymore, but it's nice to have him back. You know,
it does
I'll be
feel like
interested to see if it sees play.
I would be
Yeah.
very interested.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see. At the very most, the one thing I would say is obviously there's lots of standard sets being released, but it'd be interesting to see how things get, how much it shakes things up. You know, at the very, very least.
I don't. So going back to what you said, but I don't think the set's been overshadowed really yet at all, because like we always have, as far as I remember, the last like several years of playing Magic, we always have that first bit of the year where they just tease a lot of stuff that's coming on in throughout the year, which we've kind of had now, and then we're going to go into the Tarkia spoilers in the next couple of weeks, I think, isn't it? Because it's released
the 18th.
I think
is
the
when they
18th,
start.
yeah. But then like there's been several weeks sometimes between spoilers and previews and teasers they've been putting out.
There has been, but there's more sets than ever before in a year now.
Yeah.
So you've already.
It's there's still like there's big gaps between that. I think it's just not perceived as much. I think we mentioned this on the creator Discord. I think I can't remember who was who said that maybe it's just because so many people are speaking about it all the time that a card gets previewed on the Friday and people are still speaking about it the next Friday when another card gets revealed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like they're dragging that out so much, but like there's actually big gaps between these things getting previewed and getting spoiled that we're just regurgitating the content so much all the time about these same previews and talking about them all the time on Blue Sky. Maybe just log off for a bit.
It does
not see them so much.
It doesn't help that one of the common complaints of the last few years is like we barely get time to digest or process a set before another one comes out. Like I know because New Capenna, for example, a lot of people love the noir Prohibition era aesthetic of that, and they lamented that we only got one set on there rather than two.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as Amy said, like opinions are getting regurgitated because so much is coming out and so much is getting spoiled in one go that it's kind of like you kind of start going around in circles, like talking about this card that looks good, then this card that looks good, and there's just no time to process everything. Like especially with like the hyper Final Fantasy, which is understandable,
and the Spider-Man seed cards as well.
Yeah,
so it all come out at the same time, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it, doesn't it? That
was all at Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Becoming a card thing is
had they had the one day was like the previews of Tarkia, and the next day was the Spider-Man ones, and then we didn't have any previews. I think for about a week.
Yeah, because Commander at Home did a live show where they did use the Tarkia commanders. Brian Kibler was playing Sarkhan and Shock Horror. To be fair, that was fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching that live. So no shade to Kibler or Olivia. They're fun. They're very fun people. But yeah, it does feel like with so much kitness at once, stuff can feel overshadowed or lost in all the confusion.
I disagree with it, but probably just it's the difference of opinion.
What I was saying is you've notably said that you're not a standard player.
Yeah.
I guess it's the thing.
Standard players have to care about every set now, don't they?
Yeah, there is that. I do make an effort of not being too hyper focused on spoilers.
Yeah.
Too much.
Which is smart. Yeah.
I look at the Mythic spoiler most of the time, or we've got a channel on our Discord for spoilers that are more like Ellie. She puts all the spoilers in there, but I'm not going to be going and searching for those again on Blue Sky and then going through and watching loads of videos about them on YouTube and watching other things.
Yeah,
and it's just that there's so much content put out about a lot of the spoilers. If you watched all of it, it never ends. It really doesn't ever end.
Yeah,
but you don't need to watch all of it.
No, it's a very good point.
And so maybe just disengaging with some parts of it is probably just a bit healthy, but not all of it, because you kind of want to still be involved and still want to see the cards. And it's not like I don't see the cards
as
so necessarily.
As the Eagles so wisely put, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Yeah, Hotel California, love it.
Oh god,
I would say certainly as a standard player, not being able to ignore a Master set, a Modern Horizon set, a Commander set might be a problem for some people. But like you say, you don't have to look at every preview.
No,
it's not so much you don't have to look at every preview. We don't have to
engage with it.
So be so engaged with it all the time. It's like I think I've heard you mention before, Alex, that like as the set's about to come out, you might go on Mythic Spoiler and scroll through the whole thing. Then at that point, but you wouldn't be looking at it the whole time through spoiler season. Just looking at it at points when you want to check into it, rather than all the time.
I think,
and then it doesn't feel so much all the time.
I think the saving grace for myself is my content personally doesn't rely on having to commentate on spoilers, and I'm so glad for that, because while everyone else is talking about it, actually I don't have to. I can leave it to one side. You know, on the Omen Path podcast, me and Dom will talk about upcoming sets and cards we like the looks of, and we generally try and wait until everything has been spoiled, and then we will discuss it, because then we're building up to the sets more so than anything. So I legitimately, hand on heart,
it's a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for for some of these guys that they are literally, as soon as the latest meme or the latest spoilers out there, bang, they're on it, and I commend their effort to it. But I tell you what, like, I have actually enjoyed the beginning of the year, where I've been able to sort of just turn off it a little bit and enjoy some of the sets that have already come out. And actually, I'll tell you another thing that has been really nice. I was playing ILGS not that long ago, and someone I was playing with, they played a card from Bloomberg, and I was like, I haven't seen this card at all. I can't remember what it is, but it was so nice, because I kind of sat there and I read it, and I was like, this is a really cool little card. I'm actually going to have to think about this for a couple of decks I've got. And I love that. I love that there is still, there still is that. I'm not personally someone.
Gems,
yeah, exactly. I'm not someone. I don't know. I don't have the mental capacity to know every single card from every single set. I don't know if there are many people outside of Gavin, if I'm brutally honest with you.
It's impossible.
No, I agree with you.
There's people that are like that, yeah. But going back to like the looking at the spoilers and watching into that, I used to watch a lot of the YouTube videos as well. And there's a shout out to one of my favorite YouTube channels, SBMTG. Used to watch all of his preview videos, and like every single day of preview seasons, every single time he would do he would talk through every single one of the previews and talking extensively about where it might be played, what the cards like, things like that. And it was really interesting to watch. But obviously, it gets a bit too much. So now I just end up watching his, because he does like a top 10 video once sets like about to come out and things like that. He does like some sleepers lists as well, but like a few little videos about some of the cards.
Yeah.
So I just watch those now most of the time rather than watching.
It's a lot more bite size, isn't it? That's what I think. That's what you want. You want bite
size.
size. Yeah.
But his videos are very good, so I recommend watching that channel.
it's quite liberating, like when you're not committed to every format. So you can afford to pick and choose your battles. Like I do, like I'm very specific over what Universes Beyond sets. Like I have no interest in Spider-Man, but I know as soon as an X-Men set gets revealed, I will be gobbling that up. So, but it helps, and I can safely ignore I leave Final Fantasy to Amy. She has to put with my Lord of the Rings info dumps, so she's doing that with me with Final Fantasy. But I can ignore that. I can ignore Spider-Man and whatever the final set of the year will be. So
Avatar: The Last Airbender, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that? Oh, I saw.
That's the last one. Yeah.
I thought that was just going to be a secret lair. Oh wow!
That's a set. Standard set.
That's the one that pushed back Lauren, isn't it? So
yeah.
I can't wait for Lauren. Actually,
Lauren would be cool.
I missed that. I never got to play with Lauren.
The last Airbender set will always be remembered as the one that pushed back Lauren.
Directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, look, guys, it's been amazing to have you on, and I honestly could sit here for. I mean, we must be close to an hour 45, 2 hours. I could quite easily sit here with you guys and talk the same again.
I love talking to you both about
exactly. And this is what partly I love about the podcast and I love about the Magic Gathering community is we can all sit down, we can all chat about these subjects and have a good open conversation about it. It's part of what I love about it. But look, for anyone that, I'm sure this is not the case, but for anyone that does not know yourselves and what you do and where you are, just finish off by telling us a little bit about, like, tell us when you stream, where we can catch up on VODs and that sort of stuff.
So we have a YouTube channel, WarRoom EDH, where all of our stream VODs go onto, usually about a week after the stream. We stream every 2 weeks, it's bi-weekly, obviously, and the next stream is,
a week from over a week from now.
Yeah, so a week from now as we're recording. That what's the date though? That's the handy thing to say.
Today's the 10th of March.
So it'll be the 18th.
The 18th.
Yeah, the 18th. The 18th is the next stream, and that one's actually going to be a CDH stream
with GirlPod MTG.
Fun one. Which both of us have not actually played CDH games before, so this can be a cool thing.
We're going to get destroyed. I heard it.
But usually we don't play at that sort of level. We're playing probably in like the bracket 3 sort of decks most of the time. I think there's everything to 3.
You might get 2 games in on that stream.
but you can find twitch.tv/WarRoom EDH.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys stream on Twitch. It's important to
stream on Twitch, on there, and you can find us every other Tuesday, and that's even on the Blue Sky as well on EDH.
You can find, we go live at 7 p.m. on every other Tuesday. So yeah, look forward to that. GirlPod MTG are really nice. I spoke to them in Chicago, really friendly, really passionate about the game. So see if we can how well we stack it compared to when they were on Shattergang. So
Aimee, just please mana-type someone, like honestly, please.
So I used to have a CDH deck that I proxied up that was a Oswald Fiddlebender deck.
Oh yeah, nice.
A while ago.
Yeah, nice.
But it was one that was using the stack pieces, and it relied quite heavily though on Jeweled Lotus. So having some fast mana, and obviously that got taken out, and then I was like, well, so it was all proxied, so it didn't matter too much anyway. But I did replace something in the deck with Mana Tide, so I was running it still anyway. So I was like, nice. I'm gonna do it anyway. So I think I'm going to be running an Esper list, and I am going to be swapping something in for Mana Tide.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
It's not the best card, but it's. I will run it in every day.
I tell you what, honestly, if you can pull that off, I'll auto concede for the rest of our games for the rest we play. I'd be quite happy to sort of say, yep, you've done it. You've got to the pinnacle. I'd love that. That'd be fantastic.
If I Mana Tide something in a CDH game, is what you're saying, like to
if you just successfully cast the Mana Tide, particularly in CDH, and get it to stick and counter whatever's going on, I would be just like, yep, Amy's done it.
Amy's done it.
She's beat CDH.
I need to get a couple of Mana Tides myself just so I can put it on her just to see her reaction.
Rev, please, you've got to share the love. It's got to be done.
Oh, I need to get on card market.
But you know what happened is you'll go to Mana Tide, and Aimee will then Mana Tide your Mana Tide.
Yeah.
Oh no, double Mana Tide.
Amazing, guys.
In the reverse card, just
exactly. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on. I know we had technical issues the first time, and it's been amazing to sit down and chat to you guys. I always, whether it's playing games or sitting down and chatting with you guys at events, it's always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to hopefully catching you guys up at the Birmingham action event coming up. For everybody that's watching, please go check these guys out, WarRoom EDH. It's one of my go-tos. I don't get to dip in as much as I'd like to, unfortunately, but I do love just to dip in, particularly when we're cooking or got some quiet time. It's always nice just to have it on the background. I do check out the VODs as well. I do really enjoy it. I really,
thank you.
Although I play high level, I actually really enjoy watching just that sort of that bracket down a bit. And I think you guys squeeze into that bracket perfectly. I really do. It's a lot more easier to watch sometimes, particularly when you don't have the time to sit there and intently watch it. But Dom,
we love having you both on as well, so we have to get you on again soon, I think. So
100%. Hey, if you guys fancy some more CDH, I'm sure we can make that work.
I've got a Tivit CDH deck. I'll put a Mana Tide in there.
Everyone just splash white, and we'll get a prize for whoever gets the first Mana Tide to stick.
I wonder if we could get the world's first 4-way Mana Tide onto one target.
Right, then we have a plan now. There's a plan in place.
Got to make that work. Yeah.
I could Nonsense reversal my own Mana Tide, and then it would be a 5 Mana Tide.
Here we go. This is getting wild. God, can you imagine the stack? You've never seen a stack like it. A Mana Tide on a Mana Tide on a Mana Tide on a Mana Tide. Can you imagine?
Reprieve my own Mana Tide and then Mana Tide.
Everyone just keeping one white untapped every turn just to send a signal, like
and just twitch that planes every now and again. Someone goes to cast a spell, like Nah, you're okay. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that time.
Who's going to blink first?
Yeah, exactly. Aimee, Chris, thank you so much for jumping on, mate. It's been a pleasure having you guys on. Dom, we've got some more podcasts coming up soon, so everybody keep your eyes open for that. We're nice and busy the next couple of months. We are going to be busy people. I've got lots of editing to do. We've got lots to talk about and lots of sets to hopefully experience in the next few months. But, guys, go follow WarRoom EDH. And what do you guys want us to talk about next? There's lots of things going on in the Magic Gathering community. We've got some ideas, but, jump down in the socials. Let us know what you want to talk about. But, Dom, until next time, Chris, Aimee, thanks again for jumping on. We'll see you guys in the next podcast. See you later.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.